Hello and welcome to another episode. Elias, have you noticed how tricky the weather has been lately?
Totally, Maggie. Just last week, we had a heat wave and now it's pouring rain. Even picking out clothes has turned into a guessing game.
And it's not just what to wear. Many parts of our lives rely on good weather, especially farming.
When I was a kid, the weather was easier to understand. Farmers knew when to plant their seeds and when it would rain actually. But now, climate change is making it harder for people and all living things to know what will happen next.
Not knowing when the rain will come and how much makes it harder for farmers to plan. This affects not only our food production, but also farming in general. That's why we are glad to have Lilian Kirwa from iShamba here to talk about how climate change affects farming and what farmers can do to fix these problems. Lilian, welcome.
Thanks for having me. I am happy to talk about this important topic with you and the listener.
So, Lilian, can you explain what climate change is and why it is such a big problem?
In very simple terms, climate change means a change in the average weather conditions such as temperature and rainfall in a region over a long period of time. We all know that farming needs good weather to grow crops.
Yes.
But climate change has made it difficult. We are not sure how much rain there will be and for how long. This makes it hard for farmers to know when to plant or plan their farming activities.
And what are some big problems climate change causes for farming and agriculture?
The main problem with climate change is not knowing when and how much rain will come, causing sudden floods or long dry periods, making it hard for farmers to plan and ensure a good harvest.
Although I understand how climate change occurs, it isn't straightforward. Can you break it down how climate change happens simply?
Sure. Climate change is driven mainly by the greenhouse gas effect.
What is the greenhouse gas effect?
Normally, the sun hits the earth and the extra heat escapes into the air, keeping the earth cool. But now, because of human activities like factories, burning coal, and farming, gases are released into the air. These gases are known as the greenhouse gases. They form a blanket around the earth, trapping the heat and making the earth hotter. Some of these gases like carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide are natural, but people are adding more of these gases as well. The biggest problem is carbon dioxide, which comes from burning things like wood, coal, and fuel. This is causing global warming, which is making our planet too warm.
Got it. Could you share which industries make the most greenhouse gases?
Great question. To solve a problem, it helps to know where it comes from.
Yeah.
The biggest causes of harmful gases are making electricity and heat by burning coal, oil, and gases. Cars, factories, construction, and farming also add a lot of these gases. Countries like China, the United States, and India make the most, almost half of all the gases. Even though Kenya makes very little of these gases, Kenyan farmers still feel the effect of what other people are doing in the world that affects things like rain and the level of heat.
That's good to know. Could you explain how farming adds to these gases?
Sure, farming adds gases to the air in these ways. 1. Cutting and burning trees. Trees take in gases like carbon dioxide and store them. But when trees are cut or burned, these gases go back into the air. Animals like cows and sheep let out a lot of methane gas when they eat and digest food. And that's why we encourage farmers to feed their livestock with more forage as opposed to grain. Because when you feed your cows or livestock with grains, they will release a lot of methane gas, and we have seen that this contributes to climate change. Thirdly, using fertilizers. Some fertilizers have nitrogen which escape into the air and mixes with oxygen to form nitrous oxide, which is part of the greenhouse gases. Lastly, using certain chemicals and tools. Fertilizers, pesticides, and broken farm tools also releases some gases into the air, which we call fluorinated gases. These are also part of the greenhouse gases. These gases make the earth hotter and affect farming.
It's now very clear to me that what people do affects climate change in a big way.
You're right. People's actions are causing climate change, so it's up to us to fix it. In the next part, we'll talk about simple ways we can help reduce the bad effect of climate change.
Farmer, we hope this supports you. Stay tuned. Keep listening. In this podcast, we will bring you a lot more. And since we are talking about climate change and farming, first explain how climate change affects farming, even before we talk about the solutions.
Sure, understanding how climate change affects farming can help us prepare and do better with our crops. Farming depends on seasons and weather. If we don't know when it will rain or when the rain will stop, it's hard to plan when to plant, water, fertilize, weed, prune, or even harvest crops.
So the farmers' plans are affected. What are some other ways climate change is affecting farming?
Another big problem with climate change is not getting enough rain. Farmers need water for healthy soil and crops, and animals need water too. When there is a drought, that is not enough rain, the grass and food for animals don't grow well. This means cows and other livestock don't have enough to eat, so they don't grow fast and they give less milk. Also, crops can die from lack of water, which means farmers get a smaller harvest.
That shows how everything is related. Without enough rain, it affects not just crops, but livestock too.
On the other hand, too much rain can also cause problems.
Yeah.
It can lead to flooding, making it hard for the farmer to reach their crops. If it rains a lot during planting season, farmers might have to wait to plant, which means they'll harvest late. Too much rain can damage the soil. Crops can die if their roots get too wet. They won't grow well and might even wash away. Nutrients can also wash out of the soil, so the crops won't get the food they need and may turn yellow. Over time, the soil gets worse.
Speaking of soil, how is climate change affecting our soils?
I was getting to that. Climate change can harm the soil, which is important for plants to grow. Healthy soil has a good amount of water, minerals, and helpful creatures or organisms like earthworms. But too much heat, not enough rain, or too much rain can affect the balance and harm the soil. Also, if farmers don't change what they plant each year, which we call crop rotation, or mix different crops, which we call intercropping, the soil and plants will continue to suffer more.
That makes it harder for our crops to grow too.
The last big problem with climate change is losing different plants and animals in an area. When we lose useful insects like bees and butterflies, it makes it harder to grow food. There are fewer insects to help pollinate crops and to control plant pests, which is not good for the environment.
This is worrying. It looks like the whole world is in trouble. On farms, families are at risk of not harvesting enough to feed themselves or even make a living. What can we do to help?
Since climate change affects everyone, all countries, rich or poor, need to help. There are two ways to fight climate change. 1, mitigation. 2, adaptation. On mitigation, it means reducing the harmful gases in the air to stop the problem from getting worse. The goal is to lower these gases over time. On adaptation, it means finding ways to deal with the damage climate change causes. Small-scale farmers in countries like Kenya may not be able to stop climate change, but they can change how they farm to be better prepared. Farmers can do this by using climate-smart farming. This means changing farming methods to protect crops and animals from climate change so they can still grow and survive.
I know our farmers would want to know how they can better adapt to climate change. For this reason, in our next episode, we will focus more on climate-smart farming and other ways of adapting to climate change.
Yes. And as we come to the end of this podcast, we have talked about how human activities are increasing greenhouse gases, which in turn is causing climate change. This has made the weather more unstable and harder to plan for, causing drought and floods, and that is making life harder for farmers.
But all is not lost. We also talked about how farmers can adapt by using climate-smart agriculture. We will dive deeper into how that works in our next episode. Stay tuned. Thank you so much, Lillian, for finding time to be with us.
It was my pleasure.
Until next time,
Bye.